The sky over the quiet town of Mira 7 was cloudy and calm. Mira 7 was a small colony on Earth, known for its slow life and friendly people. Ships rarely visited, and new faces were a surprise to everyone. The people lived simple lives, far from the noise of the big cities. Technology from aliens had reached this place, but life still felt old and peaceful. Lena lived here. She was a soft-spoken girl in her early 20s. She worked at a small tech repair shop. Every day, she cleaned parts, repaired old devices, and served tea to customers. Her clothes were simple, and her hair was always tied back. She didn't care about luxury. She only cared about being useful, staying kind, and helping others. That one morning, just before sunrise, a sound came from the sky, a soft hum that slowly grew louder. People looked up. A shuttle was landing near the edge of town. It was smooth, black, and quiet. Not many ships landed here. Children ran to see it. Even Lena paused her work and stepped outside the shop, wiping her hands on her apron. The door of the shuttle opened. A tall man stepped out, wearing a long coat and boots. His face was calm. His eyes looked around, almost like he was searching for something. No one knew who he was. Some thought he was just a traveler. Others whispered, maybe he was here for trade. Lena looked at him once, then went back to work. She had no time to think about strangers. The machine in front of her was old, and its wires were a mess. Later that day, the same man walked into the tech shop. The bell above the door made a soft ring. Lena looked up and said, "Welcome. How can I help you?" The man smiled gently. "I have a small scanner that's not working. Could you take a look?" "Of course," Lena said. She took the scanner, placed it on the counter, and began checking it. The man stood quietly, watching her work. Her hands were steady, and her eyes were focused. After a few minutes, she said, "It just needs a new core chip. I can fix it by tomorrow." "That's fine," the man said. "Take your time." As he turned to leave, he glanced around the shop, his eyes full of memories. He remembered this place. Years ago, he had come here as a child. He remembered the smell of metal, the sound of machines, and a girl with a smile who gave him a broken toy just to make him laugh. He looked at Lena again. Could it be her? She had grown, of course. Her face had changed, but her eyes still had that same gentle look. Still, she didn't seem to know who he was. He walked out of the shop, hiding a soft smile. "She doesn't remember me," he whispered to himself. That night, Lena sat alone on the shop steps watching the stars. She thought about the man. There was something about his voice, something familiar. But her mind was tired, and she didn't chase the thought. She went back inside to finish her work. The next day, the man returned. Lena gave him the scanner, fully repaired. He thanked her, paid in credits, and asked, "Is there a place nearby I can stay?" "There's a guest house near the well," she said. "Small but clean." He nodded. "Thank you, Lena." She froze. "I didn't tell you my name." The man paused. "It was written on your name tag," he said quickly with a smile. Lena smiled too, though something in her heart felt curious. As the man walked away, she watched him go. His steps were slow, like he was walking through memories. And in the distance, the sun began to rise over Mira 7, shining on two hearts, one full of questions and one full of memories. The guest house near the well was small but peaceful. It had clean white walls, soft beds, and windows that showed the quiet streets of Mira 7. Aaron placed his small bag on the wooden table and stood by the window. He looked outside at the shop across the street. There, through the glass, he could see Lena helping an old man fix a radio. He smiled again, a soft smile filled with memories. Aaron had once lived in Mira 7. He left when he was just a boy. At that time, the town was even smaller, and people didn't know much about the stars or aliens. His family had moved to a big city for work, and life had changed fast after that. He studied science, built machines, and slowly became someone powerful, someone rich. But he never forgot his childhood or the girl who once gave him half of her sandwich when he had none. He was surprised to see her again. He had returned to Mirror 7 for peace and quiet, not expecting to meet anyone from the past. But now, seeing Lena again, he felt something warm inside. She didn't recognize him, and he didn't want to rush it. He wanted to spend more time around her, to see if she was still the same kind, honest soul. The next morning, Aaron returned to the shop. He didn't have anything broken, but he carried his small music cube and said, "This stopped playing songs. Maybe it's jammed." Lena took it, smiled, and began working on it at once. She never asked too many questions. She liked helping others, and that was enough for her. As she worked, Aaron looked around the shop. Not much had changed. The same old shelves, the same buzzing light in the corner, the same smell of metal and oil. Everything felt like a memory brought back to life. "Have you always lived here?" Aaron asked, trying to sound casual. Lena nodded. "Yes, born here. Never left." "You never wanted to go see other places?" "Other worlds?" he asked again. She shrugged. "Sometimes. But life is not easy. I take care of my uncle. He raised me. The shop gives us food, and that's enough for now." Aaron looked down. "That's kind of you." "I don't know about kind," she said with a small laugh. "Just doing what I can." Aaron watched her quietly. She hadn't changed at all. She was still the same girl who cared more about others than herself. He felt something stir in his chest again. When the music cube was fixed, Lena gave it back. "It works fine now," she said. Aaron pressed the button, and a soft tune filled the room. It was a slow melody, simple and sweet. For a moment, both stood still, listening. "That's a nice song," she said. "It was my favorite," Aaron replied. "When I was a kid," Lena smiled. "Funny, it was mine too." Neither spoke for a few seconds. The music played softly between them. Later that day, Aaron walked around the town. He saw the park where he once played. He saw the school building, now half closed. Everything looked smaller than he remembered, but the feeling inside him grew bigger. This town, this place, it was a part of him. In the evening, he returned to the guest house. He opened a small case inside his bag. It was full of tiny glowing chips, alien tech worth more than most people made in a year. But he closed the case quickly and looked out the window again. He wasn't here for money or work. He was here for something real. And maybe, just maybe, he had already found it. Across the street, Lena was sweeping the front of the shop. She looked tired, but she was smiling. The light from the shop made her face glow softly. Aaron whispered to himself, "She still has that same smile." He didn't know what the future would bring, but he knew one thing for sure: he wasn't leaving Mirror 7 anytime soon. Days passed slowly in Mirror 7. The sun rose early, and the evenings came with soft winds and quiet skies. For most people in the town, life was simple. But for Aaron, each day was filled with quiet thoughts and careful choices. Every morning, he visited Lena's shop with something that needed fixing: an old tool, a scanner, or a tiny drone. Sometimes it didn't even need repair, but he brought it anyway. He just wanted to see her, to talk to her, to hear her laugh at small things. Lena noticed that Aaron came often, but she didn't mind. He was polite, kind, and never rude. He also paid well, though she felt bad charging him for tiny jobs. She began to offer tea whenever he visited. They would sit together for a few minutes, talk about old songs or the weather or stories from the shop, but still, she didn't know the truth. She didn't know that Aaron was one of the most famous inventors in the inner colonies. She didn't know he had created energy cells that powered hundreds of cities, or that alien merchants requested meetings with him. She didn't know that his name was known in places she had never even heard of. Aaron had everything: wealth, fame, and power. But he had grown tired of it. Everyone around him wanted something from him. No one saw the real him. That's why he came back to find something true, something simple. And now that he had found Lena again, he didn't want to lose her. But he was scared. He feared that if she learned the truth too soon about his money, his success, his name, she might treat him differently. She might smile less and stand farther away. The warm comfort between them might disappear. So he stayed quiet. One afternoon, Aaron sat on a bench outside the shop while Lena fixed a power fan. The air was warm, and the sound of small machines filled the street. "Lena," Aaron said slowly, "do you ever feel stuck? Like life is too quiet, too slow?" She paused her work and looked at him. "Sometimes, yes, but slow life is safe. At least here, we know what to expect. No surprises. Do you like surprises?" He asked with a small smile. She thought for a moment. "Good ones, maybe." Aaron nodded but said nothing more. Inside his pocket was a communicator, a high-level device that could connect him with top leaders, distant planets and alien ships. But he kept it off. He didn't want the outside world to find him here. Not yet. That evening, Lena sat with her uncle, who was old and often tired. He looked at her and asked, "That new visitor? The quiet one. He seems familiar. What's his name?" "Aaron," she replied. Her uncle frowned. "Aaron, I knew an Aaron once. He was just a boy, left this town long ago. His family moved to the city. His mother was kind." Lena felt something move in her chest. Could it be the same Aaron? She didn't ask further. The thought stayed in her heart like a soft cloud. The next morning, something unexpected happened. The town's central screen lit up with a news report. A big tech company was planning to open a new station on the nearby moon. The report showed a picture of their founder, a man in a clean suit with sharp eyes. Lena looked at the screen and felt her breath stop for a second. The face looked like Aaron. It was him, only dressed differently, standing beside rich leaders. She looked out the window toward the guest house. Was it really him? And if yes, why was he hiding? She felt a wave of questions rise in her mind. But deep inside, she also felt something else, something warm. Because no matter who he was, the Aaron she knew here in this quiet town was kind and honest. Still, she had to know the truth. The air in Mirror 7 was fresh after the light morning rain. Small water drops still rested on the shop windows as the sun peeked through the clouds. Lena was wiping the counters when the door opened. Aaron stepped in, his coat slightly damp, but his face calm as always. "Good morning," he said. "Good morning," Lena replied, pretending not to stare. Her heart beat a little faster now. The news report from the day before still stayed in her mind. The man in the report looked just like Aaron, but she didn't ask him about it. "Not yet. I didn't bring anything broken today," Aaron said with a shy smile. "Just came to return your tea flask. You left it on the bench yesterday." "Oh, thank you," she said, taking it from his hands. Their fingers brushed for a second. She quickly looked away. Aaron stood for a moment, then spoke again. "There's a small hill just outside town. It used to have wildflowers and a view of the sky. Is it still there?" "Yes," Lena said. "It's quiet and peaceful. I go there sometimes when I need to think. Would you maybe show it to me later?" He asked gently. Lena hesitated, then smiled. "Okay." Later that afternoon, the two walked up the soft path leading to the hill. The ground was still a little wet, and Lena laughed when her boot got stuck in the mud for a second. Aaron helped her up without saying a word, just offering his hand with a kind smile. When they reached the top, the wind was light and cool. The sky stretched wide, filled with soft clouds and the faint glow of distant stars, barely visible even in daylight. They sat on a flat rock, side by side. For a few minutes they said nothing, just breathed. Then Aaron spoke. "This place is just like I remember it. Lena turned to him. "You've been here before?" He looked at her, eyes soft. "Yes, a long time ago. When I was a boy, I used to come here with a friend. She was kind. Always gave me a part of her lunch when I forgot. Mine, she fixed a toy of mine once, even though it didn't work after that. But I kept it." Lena's heart stopped for a second. "That toy," she said slowly, "was a red bird with broken wings." Aaron looked at her, surprised. "You remember?" "I didn't, until now." They both laughed soft, unsure, but warm. The past had caught up with them, finally. "You're really that same boy?" she asked. He nodded. "I wanted to tell you, but I wasn't sure you'd remember me." "I didn't," she admitted. "Not until now." They sat quietly again. Then Lena turned to him, her voice lower. "There's something else. I saw a news report yesterday. It showed someone who looked like you. A man who owned a tech company. He worked with alien traders and governments. His name was Aaron, too." He looked down at his hands. "Yes, that's me." She didn't speak for a while. The wind passed between them like a quiet river. "Why didn't you tell me?" "I didn't want you to treat me differently," he said. "I came here to rest, to find peace. Everyone outside wants something from me. But here, you looked at me like I was just me." Lena looked at the ground, thinking. She wasn't angry. She was just surprised. "I don't know what to say," she whispered. "You don't have to say anything now," Aaron said. "Just, please don't stop being my friend." She smiled a little. "Friends don't lie, you know." "I didn't lie," he said softly. "I just waited." She laughed lightly. "That's a smooth answer." They sat until the sky turned orange. As they walked back down the hill, the silence between them wasn't heavy anymore. It was light, like a soft secret shared between two old souls. And for the first time, Lena felt something new in her heart, a quiet feeling that maybe this simple life could still hold something beautiful. Word travels fast in small towns, and Mira 7 was no different. Ever since Aaron started visiting Lena's shop more often, people had begun to notice. At first, they only whispered lightly, just a traveler coming in for repairs. But when Aaron started helping Lena carry boxes, cleaning dusty shelves, and staying longer for tea, the whispers grew louder. Old Mr. Dane, who sold fruit at the corner stall, spoke to Lena one morning. "That new man seems very close to you," he said with a small smile. Lena smiled politely. "He's just helping around." But inside, she wasn't so sure anymore. After their walk to the hill, something had changed. She now knew who Aaron truly was, not just her childhood friend, but someone powerful and rich. And yet, he still came to her small world like it mattered. That made her heart feel confused and warm at the same time. Some people in the town weren't as kind as Mr. Dane. A few women whispered behind Lena's back as she passed the street. "She's just a shop girl. What does he see in her? He must be hiding something. Why would a man like him come here?" Lena heard the words, but she stayed quiet. She didn't let them show on her face. She had no control over what others said, but she could choose how she responded, with silence and dignity. Inside the shop, things stayed busy. Machines kept breaking, drones kept buzzing, and wires kept sparking. But now Aaron worked beside her almost every day. He didn't mind getting his hands dirty. He learned to fix old gear with tools that were too outdated for the city. He smiled more. He even laughed sometimes. One day, Lena asked him, "Don't you miss your world? All those buildings, ships, meetings, money?" Aaron shook his head. "That world is always running. Here, I can breathe." She nodded quietly. She understood that feeling well. Later that week, trouble arrived. The shop owner, Lena's uncle's old friend, came in with worry on his face. His name was Rico. He was in his 50s and always treated Lena like his own daughter. "We have a problem," he said. "The landlord wants to raise the rent. I can't pay that much." If this happens, we might have to close the shop next month. Lena felt her heart sink. Is there no way to stop it? I've tried, Rico said, but I don't have the money. Lena said nothing. She had no savings. Her small salary helped her and her uncle survive. Losing the shop would change everything. Aaron heard the whole talk quietly from behind the counter. He didn't speak then. He simply picked up a small tool and went back to work like nothing had happened. But inside, his mind was racing. That night, he sat in the guesthouse room, looking at the quiet stars outside. He held his personal device, which had been switched off since he arrived. For the first time in weeks, he turned it on. A soft light appeared, and a voice greeted him. Welcome back, Aaron. You have 326 unread messages. He ignored them. He opened the finance screen and sent a simple silent transaction to a hidden fund. The next morning, a clean, formal letter arrived at the landlord's office through digital courier. It came from an unknown investor offering to cover the shop's rent in full for 2 years, with no strings attached. Lena and Rico didn't find out who helped. The landlord said only, a business group found value in keeping the shop open. Rico was overjoyed. We're saved. He laughed. Lena smiled, but something inside her told her who had done it. That evening, she walked to the guest house and found Aaron sitting on the porch, watching the stars again. You knew, didn't you? She asked softly. Knew what? He replied, acting innocent. She sat beside him. About the rent. I don't know how, but I feel like you helped. He didn't answer right away. Then he said, would it bother you if I did? No. She whispered, it would mean you care. He looked at her, eyes gentle. I do. And in that quiet night, with no music or lights, just 2 people and the sky above, Lena felt something bloom in her chest, a soft, warm feeling she hadn't known in a long time, something like hope. A quiet peace returned to Mirror 7 after the shop's rent problem was solved. The people in town went back to their simple routines, and Lena's shop became busier than ever. Old machines were brought in, new tools were ordered, and even travelers from nearby colonies started visiting for quick repairs. Everyone seemed happy, especially Rico, who smiled more than usual. But Lena's heart was not quiet. It was full of questions and feelings she couldn't name. She still hadn't asked Aaron directly about the mysterious help with the rent. Deep inside, she already knew it was him. But he never said a word, and she didn't push. His silence was gentle, not cold. She could feel the kindness behind it. One afternoon, Lena stood by the shop window, watching the rain fall lightly on the street. The clouds were low, and the soft sound of water made the town feel even more peaceful. She turned around when the bell above the door rang. It was Aaron. He held something in his hand, a small brown box, carefully tied with a silver ribbon. What's this? Lena asked. A small gift, he said, for you. She looked surprised. Why? He smiled. Because you fix things. But maybe this one will fix something for you. She slowly untied the ribbon and opened the box. Inside was a small red bird, a toy bird with tiny metal wings. Its body was smooth, and the paint was new. It was almost the same toy she had given him long ago when they were kids, but this one worked. She touched the switch gently. The bird's wings moved slowly, and it gave a soft, happy sound. Lena stared at it for a long time. You fixed it, she whispered. No, Aaron said. You gave it life once. I just returned the gift. She looked at him, her eyes warm and quiet. I didn't think you still remembered. I remember everything, he said. The shop felt still for a moment, as if time had paused just for them. Then Lena placed the bird on the shelf behind the counter, where everyone could see it. It belongs here, she said, with the other things I try to keep alive. Later that day, the 2 of them walked to the edge of town, where the grass grew taller, and the stars could be seen even before the sky turned dark. They didn't talk much, just walked slowly, their steps matching, their hearts speaking without words. "I never thought you'd come back," Lena said softly. "I never thought I'd find something real again," Aaron replied. They stopped under an old tree, its branches swaying gently in the evening breeze. Aaron picked a small flower from the ground, a starflower with white petals and a glowing center. He gave it to her without saying anything. Lena took it in her hand and smiled. "Do you ever miss your world?" she asked. "Sometimes," he admitted, "but only the quiet moments. The rest, I can live without." "Then maybe you found your quiet place here," she said. He looked at her with soft eyes. "Maybe I found more than that." As they walked back to town, the lights of Mirror 7 blinked in the distance like little stars on Earth. The people were settling into their homes. The machines were silent, and the town felt like it was wrapped in calm. Back at the guest house, Aaron watched Lena walk back to her own place. She turned once and waved. He waved back, and as the door closed behind her, he stood still for a while. Inside him, something had changed. The man who once traveled among stars and led grand missions now found peace in the quiet smile of a girl who fixed broken machines, and the girl who once believed she had nothing special now carried a heart full of soft wonders. Without saying it, they both knew something beautiful was starting, not with loud promises, but with silent gifts, slow steps, and the kind of love that grows quietly. The days in Mirror 7 continued to pass gently. The wind grew cooler, and the sky changed colors more often, from light blue to soft gold during sunset. The small town remained quiet, but something was slowly blooming in Lena's heart. Something she didn't fully understand yet. Every morning, Aaron came to the shop. Sometimes he brought tools to repair, sometimes just himself. They talked, laughed, and even worked side by side. The space between them was no longer filled with silence. It was filled with comfort. One slow afternoon, when there were no customers, Lena began cleaning the old storage room at the back of the shop. Dust had gathered over the years, and boxes were stacked in every corner. She pulled out old wires, forgotten gadgets, and broken items. In one of the small wooden drawers, she found a pile of old photos wrapped in plastic. Most were faded and yellow, showing the shop in its early days. One picture caught her eye. It was of two children sitting under a tree, smiling with half-eaten sandwiches in their hands. Lena stared at it for a long time. The boy in the picture had a small scar above his eyebrow. Her eyes widened. She had seen that scar before. She rushed to the counter and grabbed a notebook. Inside the cover, she had written her name and some drawings as a child. One page held a memory. Me and Aaron. Under the tree. He likes stars. She stood still for a long moment. Her breath slowed. Her heart beat louder. He hadn't just reminded her of someone. He was that someone. Aaron wasn't just her old friend. He was her Aaron, the one who shared food with her when she had nothing. The one who cried when his toy bird broke. The one she hugged before he left town and never returned, until now. She walked outside with the photo still in her hand. Aaron was sitting by the bench across the street, watching the sky like he always did. She walked over slowly. "Aaron," she said, holding up the photo, "is this us?" He turned and looked at the picture. For a moment, he didn't speak. Then he nodded, a gentle smile forming on his face. "I was hoping you'd find that someday," he said quietly. "You never told me," Lena whispered. "I wanted you to remember on your own. I didn't want to force it." She sat down beside him. "I remember now," she said. "The hill, the toy bird. Your favorite song. You always talked about building something great. And you did. You became someone important." Aaron looked down at his hands. "But the only thing I really missed was you." Lena's heart felt full. It wasn't just about memories. It was about everything between them that never truly disappeared. "You helped with the rent," she said softly. He didn't deny it. "You gave me back the bird." He nodded. You've been doing all this quietly. He looked at her with kind eyes. Because I didn't come back for attention, Lena. I came back to find something real. Something I lost when I left. Lena took a deep breath. And did you find it? He didn't answer with words. He simply reached out and gently took her hand in his. They sat like that under the orange evening sky as the town lights flickered on one by one. The world around them was changing slowly. New technology, new visitors, new dreams. But the moment between them was simple, still, and full of old feelings. Later, when Lena returned home, she placed the photo on her bedside table. She looked at it for a long time, smiling softly. She was no longer the poor girl who thought dreams were far away. She was someone who had found something rare, a love that waited, quietly, in memories, in time and in kindness. And this time, she wasn't going to let it go.